I'm going to start with the NBA All-Star break. Let's start with the I guess the recap of the week and what we see featured in these two events. In the NBA All-Star break, you get the dunk contest won by, hold on, I'm going to be honest. I know Mac McClung is basically a dunk contest legend at this point. I don't even know what team he's on. Like, genuine, is he on? I think he's on Orlando at this point. You wouldn't know it. You want to know why? Because he's not playing for Orlando, really. He might have a roster spot, or it might be on the G League team, but he's not really on the team, realistically. So you get the dunk contest won by basically a nobody. No disrespect to Mr. McClung. He could probably destroy, not probably, he could destroy me if I ever played him 1v1. It'd be very embarrassing. And he's an incredible athlete. All the guys that are in the NBA, even in the G League, are incredible athletes. Then you got the All-Star games themselves. Now, the teams, back in my olden days of, 3-4 years ago, probably a little bit more than that, it used to be you had the Eastern, I guess this is it's your East, but it's mine. You had the Eastern Conference and you had the Western Conference. And teams, believe it or not, they belong to these particular conferences. And so you had teams, relatively speaking, that were on the East, or relatively speaking, that were on the West. I don't remember which one I started with. And those would make up the two rosters. It would be coached by some, top coach in the league at that point, similar to like the All-Star game in baseball or what have you. But instead, the NBA said, you know what? People don't want that. Nobody wants East versus West, your conference versus my conference. Nobody wants that, right? Instead, what they want is they want Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, and Candace Parker to put together a bunch of teams with some vague theme attached to it. That's what people want. Oh, and by the way, the teams are also coached by said media personalities. So, in case you wanted a showcase of, I don't know, who are some of the, Joe Mazzulla, or in the West, I guess you have the Denver Nuggets coach whose name escapes me, Malone. Is that right? I think it's Mike Malone. Yeah, in case you wanted those guys, to be, coaching an all-star unit. Instead, you got Shaq just being a big kid. Now, I love Shaq. I mean, I think he's hysterical. I think he's a great cultural figure. But a little lackluster than what it once was or what it could possibly be. And then, to make matters even worse, you even have players, and it's not just borderline players. It's not just, players that nobody really cares about. It's LeBron James opting out of the game right, the day of, by the way. Adam Silver, by the way, all-star team, I'm not going to play because my foot hurts. I understand LeBron James is 100 years old, and too many all-star games in a row it's done irrevocable damage to his physical health, despite the fact that he's still, incredibly fit to be an all-star. You can't just opt out of the all-star game the day of the game and not have people, mock you for that. Like, that is the softest, most pathetic. And what makes it even worse? No, they couldn't find a replacement. If somebody opts out of the Pro Bowl, for example, or opts out of the All-Star game because I don't know, they injure themselves or whatever. Like, for whatever reason, you give an opportunity to a guy who is borderline, right? You give an opportunity. I don't know who it would be necessarily in the All-Star game. Maybe a Domantas Sabonis. I don't know. Like, somebody like that. You give that guy an opportunity to be able to play in the All-Star game, to be able to, show the world his talents, right? You just rip that all away when you decide, oh, I'm just going to show up without a uniform and also show up the day of the game. Like, what is this? It's not you're not there to hang out, right? The whole point is that you're supposed to be there as like a player. Like, the only reason you're there is because of your performances as a player, not because people personally like you. Even though they might personally like you, that's not the reason that you're there. Okay? That should go without saying, but maybe LeBron does need to be told that. And then also there's the 3-point contest. I don't even know who won the 3-point contest. Does anybody know? Does anybody care? Now, all of that is to say, NBA All-Star break. It hasn't been good in a while, and I'm beating a dead horse by dogging on the game. However, what many people told me is that, well, you just can't fix it. It's unfixable. All-Star game. The players make too much money. They don't. It's an exhibition game, so they don't want to. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it because life is so hard for them, I guess. And then, cutscene to the NHL 4-Nation Tournament. All right. So here's the 4-Nation Tournament. You got national pride. You got Finland. You got Sweden. You got the United States of America, and you got Canada. All right. 3 hockey hotbeds at the very, obviously Russia not included for I suppose various reasons. I would have liked to see Russia. I'm not in charge of this thing. Whatever. You still got three countries that bring a lot of hockey players. Hockey's pretty big in all 3 of those countries. But you add that with the, all of the best players in the league. It's not just, the reserves. It's not just, junior players or college players. It's the best players in the NHL. They are playing, and they're playing like it's the final game of their life. Like you got the Kachuk brothers beating the heck out of the Canadians. You got the Finnish last night, or maybe yesterday afternoon. You got the Finland players. The Finns were down 4-0 or 3-0. I don't remember what it was. And then in the third period, there's like 2 minutes to go, and they bring it to 1 goal, and you're like, oh my gosh, are they actually going to come back? Because all the momentum is swinging. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And all of that just encapsulated in, oh my gosh, these players care. They want to, not only do they want to put on a good show for, us, the fans, they want to put on a good show for their country. They want to put on a good show because they want to play well, because they have a little bit of pride in how they perform in these games. The thing that grinds my gears is that these NBA players, they go out there. It's a national televised event. The nation, theoretically, is watching. And you want to go out there and just lackadaisical, just go through the motion. Oh, my God. Oh, he just drove right past me. Dude, the only reason you're there is because your performance has been so well to this point that the NBA, the fans, whomever, want to see you play. Like, these things are fan voted. So, presumably, fans are voting because they would like to see said player in the All-Star game. And the other thing is, there is basically no real benefit in both cases, okay? If Canada ends up winning the 4-Nations tournament, who cares, all right? Ultimately. I really won't care. If the U.S. wins, I'll be happy. Obviously, in the same way the Canadians would probably be happy if they win. But, it's all ultimately, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. I'm a Red Wings fan. I'm not a hockey fan necessarily. But in the NBA, the same thing applies. There's no benefit to winning the All-Star game. There's no benefit to winning the dunk contest. Other than it's just a cool thing to do. But these players don't care. And allegedly, it's because they make too much money. And let me tell you something. If the problem is that they're making too much money, then why is it that the solution that many people seem to offer, including presumably some of the players, is to add monetary incentives to the All-Star game? First of all, there are monetary incentives. These players get bonuses, and many of their contracts include bonuses based on getting into the All-Star game or being an All-Star. So that's already out the table. They definitely have no problem, adding money onto it. And furthermore, let's assume that it actually does. Let's assume that if you paid them $100,000 extra dollars, or that probably had to be $1 million extra dollars, then they try. Okay. If it takes an extra $1 million for them to try, then what do we have to say about the decades and decades of All-Star games where the guys were making significantly less money, not only on just a pure, like the actual number, but inflation-wise, they were just making less money? But they were trying, just like, we're advocating for. And furthermore, regardless of whether or not, if it takes you an extra $1 million to go out there and actually perform well, don't go to the league. Don't go. You don't deserve the All-Star, because you clearly you don't have enough self-respect to go out there and perform in front of fans and perform as a representative of your team. I mean, in the case of some of these players, obviously I'm not going to dog on Cade. He can't control his playing time, and he played pretty well. Like, you don't think it means something for the fans of teams that don't get a whole lot of all-star players, that their favorite player from their favorite team is there? It meant a lot to me as a Pistons fan to know that Cade Cunningham was there. Now, I wish he would have gotten a lot more playing time, but unfortunately the games last like 3 seconds. So, look, all of this is to say, the Four Nations tournament gets it right. They get all these players, all the best players. They all want to play. They all feel like they are representing something that's bigger than themselves. And it's not just for show. It's not just for, going to San Francisco and having a party and getting a stupid looking jersey. All right. It's something that they actually want to win. Obviously. I mean, I think you would be foolish if you thought that, Team Canada would not be pissed if they don't win this game on Thursday. So how do you fix it if you're the NBA? Well, here's the thing. And this is not my original idea, and I'm sure I'm not the first person either way to articulate this idea. In a lot of ways, the game of basketball has become much more international, especially than when I was growing up. When I was growing up, if you got a European player in the draft, his name was Darko Milicic, and he was one of the worst draft busts in the history of the league. As time has gone, some of the best players in the league have become those European players. The Giannis's, the Lukas, the Jokic's, even to some extent the Joel Embiid, although he played in college, so it's a little more vague. And also, I hate Joel Embiid, so I'm going to slander him as much as I can. But either way, you have a lot of international players. Victor Wembanyama, 2 years ago, first overall pick. Even, I think this past year, the first overall pick was, what is it, Basilis or whatever? I don't even know, because that draft is so terrible. But a lot of guys are international. So, NBA, why not do USA versus the world? All right? I mean, we already saw what was it? I don't even know what it was called. The FIBA, is that what it's called? The international basketball tournament where Team USA went in, and you had Steph Curry, LeBron, and Kevin Durant and all them. Why not do something like that, but in the NBA instead of an All-Star break? You have United States, I don't know exactly who specifically would be on the team at this point, but you get 12 of the best players from the United States, and you put them all on a team, and then you get 12 of the best players from the greater international community. I guess we can be pretty vague because we don't want to limit it. Like, we're not just going to do, Finland or something. There's not enough Finns playing basketball, but you get, players from Europe, basically. So you got a team of Luka, of Giannis, of Jokic, of, pick your international players. And you got the team of the Americans where you got, literally just throwing names out. I'm not saying necessarily these guys deserve it, but, Cade, Shai, LeBron, Steph, I don't know. You get those guys in, and you have, I don't know, maybe even do a best of 7. Honestly, like you could do a week, roughly, yeah, like a week of games. So you got, you're off pretty much since, well, I guess last week you had some games, but you start it on the Friday. So game 1 is on Friday, game 2 is on Sunday, game 3, and then then maybe you just do best of 4. I don't know. You can figure it out. All right. You can figure out the number. You can figure out the spacing of the games. You could do that. And I think that would be a heck of a lot more entertaining. You could even, how about this? You could even have it be routine, like 1 year it's hosted in the United States, another year it's hosted in Europe, then the next year it's hosted in the United States, and then so on and so forth. And it's, it's still basically an all-star game in a sense. You're seeing the best players, in this case, in the world, literally. Obviously, you see the best players in the world anyway, but like you're seeing them play against each other. And there's something about representing your country or representing the Euros. I know it's a little bit different because you're not with Europe. Europe is not a country, it's a continent. So it's not exactly the same thing for them. But for the US, it just seems to unlock something. I mean, I didn't really watch the basketball the international basketball tournament, but as far as highlights went, it just seemed like the guys playing for the Team USA, they were given a heck of a lot more effort than they ever gave in an All-Star game. So, look, maybe this is the solution. Maybe this is what we have to do to get these guys to perform in an All-Star game. Or maybe we just got to just say, you know what? You guys don't deserve the All-Star game. You're not getting bonuses. We're not even going to do the All-Star game. We'll vote on who the All-Stars are at the end of the season. And then you got your All-Stars, your All-NBAs, and so on. And then you go from there. Because to me, it's like you can't have the All-Star game benefits, i.e. the bonuses, the break, all that, but then not give the All-Star game effort. So if this does end up happening, which I really think it should, because it just seems like that's the direction that the sport is going, the All-Star game is going to be push is going to come to shove. You're either going to have to get rid of the All-Star game entirely, somehow force the players to try, or do something entirely different. And I think the NHL's got it absolutely right, and I can't believe that I have to say that to the NBA, that they have less media savviness, less, ability to put together a good, entertaining product than the NHL. So hopefully Team USA beats the doors off of Canada on Thursday, because I got to tell you, I'm probably as hyped for that as for when the NHL actually comes back on Saturday. That's what's crazy. I am all in on this NHL stuff. So let me know what you guys think. I think it's a good idea, but they don't come to me. Hi, it's me again. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like and subscribe button. We do live shows every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there.